ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
Gang first, last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales La Roja and give our thoughts on Puss in Boots, The Last Wish.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken!
Nice.
We're going to have to Foley that one in. That was a stiff bottle cap. All right, the senor.
We got the big fancy bottle and we're pouring them into glasses tonight for those of you listening. So Mick here's pouring this sour beer.
Yeah. I decided we are not just going to use the plastic sippy cups that Pat has here in the office.
Or just hand it back and forth. Like in college, I think I sat on a couch and in a garage and passed or back and forth a bottle of the original Tree Shaker from Odell IPA.
Yeah.
From Odell's. And it hasn't been as good since, but I just remember it being so good.
It's way more
right out of that bottle.
It's way more ale and less peachy.
Yep.
Nowadays.
Yep. Yeah, it was. You could taste the peach in the
first
small
stuff.
batch, in the small batch stuff. But we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales La Roja.
Yeah, and for all those who are wondering why we picked this, so La Roja is Spanish for the rose, I believe. But the front of the bottle has definitely a pussycat in a suit holding the beverage. And I was looking originally for a Spanish beer or a milk stout. But the guy said, hey, we have this sour beer that has a red cat on the front and it's a Spanish name for the beer. I was like, that's perfect. Perfect.
So did you tell the guy at the store we're reviewing Puss in Boots and we need a beer for him?
Every time I walk in, I tell him what we're reviewing and I asked him to help me find something.
And he wasn't like, you're a grown man reviewing a child's movie?
No, he was like, oh, that's awesome.
All right. He was excited.
Because he clearly has seen the movie.
Yep. I like it.
Alrighty. Well, we got enough in here for probably another glass and a half.
Another little half pour.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, it's got, it's enough for definitely two full pours and maybe 3.5 pours.
Yeah. All right. So time to read the can, read the bottle, as we might say. It's a 7.2 alcohol by volume. And on here, like Mick said, it's got this fancy cat. It also has, let's see, it's they're out of Dexter, Michigan, just outside of Ann Arbor. And here's what it says
Wolverines
on the back. Aged in large oak casks, then bottle fermented. So it's they bottle it, they put a little extra yeast in the top, and over the next couple of weeks, that's what creates the bubbles in it. So that's
probably why. I mean, it smells funky.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It smells like it was fermented in that bottle.
Yeah. When you poured it, I could smell it over here. La Roja is a Franco-Belgian style sour ale crafted in the Flanders tradition of aged and blended beers. La Roja is rich and lush with undertones of caramel. I feel like that's how I say caramel, but if you're doing this, as a fake cicerone, I say caramel, fruit and spice. Truly an ale of grace and distinction. So, yeah, I haven't taken a sip yet. Let's see what's the deal with this sour.
Dude, someone lowered my armchairs all the way down.
Oh, that was little Pat.
Oh. That damn kid.
We were in here with little Pat, and he was messing with all your stuff.
Why do you always put him in my chair?
Because I'm in my chair, you know? Yeah. So this is a Flemish style sour amber ale. Flemish, one of the two languages spoken in Belgium, the other one being Dutch.
That's the way you aerate wine. Yo, pass that bottle over here. I'm going to top off because now that my foam's lowered. It's got a really good like rust in your pipes color to it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It looks exactly like rusty water.
Yeah.
And as it's sitting here, it's got like an slightly ruddy amber, tint to it. It looks good, and I'll be honest, it smells like a good sour. Like those are the first things I noticed is like it looked appealing when I thought like when I see like this bottle and like kind of read what it's supposed to taste like. I immediately wanted it because it's kind of got that like foamy wine, like you're like it looks nice, it looks appealing. What are your thoughts just overall before we dive into flavor?
Yeah, no, I think that when you popped it open and started pouring it smelled good. I could tell it just seemed like it was a little high quality. It's got a nice look to it. I think that if you showed up with this on a date, you're already winning because you just look fancy. Like it said on the back, grace and distinction. I think that it does give off a little bit of grace and distinction. If anybody out there is a total grain nerd, which I've never looked into the types of grains or strains of grains in these things, but they have Pilsner malt, pale malt. Those sound kind of standard. Then you have your Munich 10, which sounds like a nightclub that
10 or 10? Like
1-0. Munich,
yeah, 10.
1-0.
10.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like, that's to me, that sounds like a Unz Music late night club. And then you have wheat malt. And then this stuff, I don't know if you should mess with it. Crystal 150. Hey.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So we got that Crystal 150 in this, and then some black malt and dextrose. But that's what's going on inside of this beer. The brewmaster and also chief squeegee operator, Ron Jeffries, got this company started in 2004. He had kind of dabbled before that in the 90s, and then he started doing it a little bit professionally, and then and established this brewery in 2004. And he pretty much focuses on sours, so I like it. I think that when you specialize in something, you can sometimes pigeonhole yourself, but other times you can also really refine a craft. I also like that he's given his name Chief Squeegee Operator, because anybody out there who owns a small business, that yes, you could call yourself the CEO, but also you're the Chief Squeegee Operator. When everybody's gone for the day, it's time for you to close up, get the squeegee out, whatever, take out the trash, clean the toilets, count the money in the cash register, make sure employees got paid, whatever it is, and then turn off the lights and lock the doors. So I appreciate that recognition. He has described himself or in his bio, it's just this brewmaster Ron. I like him so far. He's described himself as driven and dedicated, progressed from a brewer to a craftsman to artist, and most recently to a philosopher and visionary. So getting pretty lofty there around the brewing arts. It says he now practices Hawaiian time full time. So it sounds like a pretty cool dude to work for.
Yeah, no kidding.
Unless he holds you to normal time standards and not himself. But if the whole place is on Hawaiian time, I could dig it. He said he needed to learn how to go on walks and learn how to laugh again, take a step back and decelerate from the hectic pace of modern life. I could appreciate that. I like that. So, with that, is it time for the swish test?
It's time, man. It's time to take a sip of this and kind of aerate it, swish it around. Make sure to get it all nice and fuzzy, and then push it through your cheeks. Push it through your teeth. Mm-hmm.
Mm. That does that. That elevates the sour. It didn't make me do the warhead pucker when I've been sipping it, but when I swished it, it gave me a little bit of the pucker on there.
It's weird because on Untapped, there's La Roja and then there's La Roja Creek. But they have the same logo, and I can't tell if the Creek one is a different one than this one. Because they're all Belgian styles of sours, but there's the Frike, there's the Frike, and then there's the Creek or what, something like that. Okay, yeah. First thoughts. Is it kind of?
I think that
comes across the palate
for a sour. I think it's kind of mild, in a good way.
It feels like a mild sour to me too.
It doesn't, like if you were trying to introduce somebody to a sour, this might be a good option because it's not crazy strong. It's not like you just stuck a couple, warheads in your mouth, but it gives you enough to know what you're getting into. I think that it's just good. It goes down good. Easy.
I think it almost has like, this is my first criticism, is that the aftertaste is very just water. Like after I swallow it, the last taste I have is just water.
It's mild.
It's very mild. Yeah. But it's odd because I'm used to like sours being, the 7% and up sours, I'm used to them being pretty puckery. And almost leaving you with a dry taste because of that kind of vinegar. But alrighty, so let's kind of go through the flavors that you're picking up on the palate. What's kind of coming across here? Because I am getting a little bit of raspberry. I feel like, is that one of the flavors in here? It's got to be a berry, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure which. Well, I wonder what they used as what's the most common thing that they use to make sour? It's usually wine barrels. Wine barrels that make it sour.
But on the website, does it say what flavors they're going for? I mean, I know you mentioned caramel.
Yeah, this one has. It says caramel, spice, and sour fruit notes, developed through natural barrel aging. Unfiltered, unpasteurized, and blended from barrels ranging in age from 2 to 15 months. So, I don't know what. I wonder how long it's been in there, but
2 months is also a short time to be in the barrel,
right? And so it's like, do we get the 15-monther or the 2-month? Are they mixing the two? Are they putting 10% of the 15-monther in there, and it's mostly 2-monther?
What's our bottle date? There should be the date somewhere on there, on the back underneath the barcode.
This one says 11/24. No.
That must be Best Buy.
Yeah, but then because it says 11/24, 2110, as in the year 2110. So I'm reading something wrong.
Yeah,
maybe it's just 21. Okay, so it's 11/24/21.
Oh, 2021.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, for a going on almost 2-year-old, well, a year and a half beer, that's great.
Yeah.
That really has held a flavor. It had a good head to it too, I feel like it doesn't feel flat at all.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not really feeling like I'm getting the caramel flavor though. And if you hadn't said that was something they were shooting for, like a caramel note,
right?
That word would have never come to mind.
I'm going to search for it again here.
All right. I'll search too. Yeah. Are we done? Is that how we're doing? Like Puss in Boots?
Yeah, Mick's,
Like lap it
Mick's
up?
just lapping it out of the cup. Did you get the caramel?
Yeah. Actually, I kind of did that time a little bit. It's more like the bittery part of caramel.
Yeah.
Like the note of it on the very tip of my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
You ever hear a cat lap?
Yeah. Not a huge fan
They're
of
very
it.
breathy.
Yeah.
You don't notice it until you're like your head's close to them, and then you hear me like,
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I try to spend as little time as possible around felines. Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's shocking, dude. I love cats.
Really?
I think cats are so funny, dude. I think cats are funnier than dogs.
I think funnier, yes, but
I would prefer a dog most of the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, dude, cats are like the perfect amount of maintenance.
yeah, that is an upside to them. Like they do take care of themselves in those ways, but at the same time, like I've never met somebody, even the cleanest person's house ever. If you walk into their house, you go, "Oh, you have a cat," like instantly. Like there's no like,
Sure.
like they're just like you just know there's one in there. Also, I'm allergic to them, so that just like adds to the like. It makes it so that I can't even give them a chance.
Did you know that they're what is it? Not a fungus, but the bacteria that grows out of their, like that comes out of their poo and like their pheromones makes us braver.
Makes us braver.
Yeah, so it's
Really?
like, yeah, one of the things about cat fecal matter is like the toximorphology or whatever. I can't remember the exact term, but essentially rats and mice eat it. It has an effect on mammals, essentially. So like anything that's around it long enough, it essentially gives off a blocking to our fear hormones.
So that we'll let them eat us.
No. So yeah. So because like it makes mice less likely to run away, makes rats more risky. And they, rather than staying to the corners of the room, scientists have observed them after eating, like ingesting this parasite is what it's called. They spend more time in the center of the room out in the open. And so that's why cats can catch mice so well, because usually mice are so sneaky. And the reason we have a hard time is because normal mice and rats are just far more risk averse. But when you have a cat around, they literally give off an odor that has this parasite in it that makes you more brave. And it can actually be lethal to humans in high enough doses. That's why like some cat ladies die from it, like as a poisoning from this parasite, essentially.
Because there's a thing also called toxoplasmosis.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the
And that messes you up. If you're pregnant, it can mess your kid up bad. Like,
yeah, but it has to be in super high doses, not just like one cat in the house.
No, if you're like a pregnant woman, just from cleaning a litter box, toxoplasmosis can jack your kid up.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's enough science on that.
Hey, we'll have to look into it. Put Craig on it for later.
There's people who have had like 2 or 3 cats in their house and all their kids are freaking fine. Smoke break?
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's the thing is like it can happen or sometimes it doesn't. Like, you know, just it can be, it's freak accidents, you know. But
Weird.
Yeah, so don't eat cat poop.
Yeah,
you
don't
know?
eat cat
Don't
poop.
eat cat poop. Even if you're struggling with courage out there, don't eat the cat poop.
But get a cat.
Find other ways. Yeah.
It will make you braver.
Make you
Getting
braver.
a cat will make you bolder.
Especially if you get your friend to at random times throw the cat in the shower with you. That will increase your bravery.
That's so scary, dude. Because that cat is just terrified and like.
Just look at
Can you
something.
imagine, dude? Can you imagine if someone just picked you up? Like, can you imagine if like an elephant just picked you up and would throw you like over
into like something that's like lava, something you think is going to kill you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And your only way out is trying to climb another elephant.
Oh man, cat scratches. Got to watch out for those things.
Anyways, La Roja, what's your thoughts, man? What are you kind of thinking overall for this? Because it is an easy drinker.
Yeah.
I'm shocked at its alcohol content. Like the fact this is above 5% and it tastes so mild.
Yeah, I think that, like I said before, I think this is a good one to introduce people to sours on. And I also think that I wonder is there an art to making a sour mild? Like,
I mean, there's got to be.
Like, is it?
Maybe it's the shorter fermenting time in the barrel.
Yeah, to make it
help it finish off in the bottle.
Yeah, to make it. Yeah, maybe that's like something that other brewmasters look up to. Like, oh yeah, making it an easy drinking sour, because I think they're pretty rare for in lots of cases, and so I think that. Also, I don't think that I like to drink sours like with any food or in like a large quantity.
Dude, I don't want sours on an empty stomach.
Right.
Sours on an empty stomach make me.
I think I
like bad heartburn.
I'd like to have a sour beer like after I had a meal.
Oh yeah.
But like I wouldn't rarely pair it with a meal because of how strong it is. But yeah, I think you could have this with a meal,
bro. I think I mean, this sounds super foo-foo, but like I think if I'm waiting for my steak to arrive and I'm just enjoying that nice wedge salad, I kind of want a sour to just like go with like the appetizer almost.
Right.
You know, it like just the crispy freshness that I think sours have in flavor because they just have so many notes of fruit, you know. It goes well with kind of the more fresh food.
Yeah.
You know, it's I mean, same with wine, right? It's like the same thing where like you drink wine before, you know, you drink wine with like the salad at dinner before you get to your actual main course. But yeah, I like it. I think the notes are there. Again, it's pretty subtle. I can't pick a particular fruit flavor. I think more than anything, it does kind of have the raspberry flavor. Like that's the one I'm going to lean with, the kind of raspberry zinginess. Yeah, I really don't taste that caramel. And the punchiness is almost like, it kind of reminds me of the immediate zap you get from putting a D battery to your tongue.
Like a 9 volt.
Yeah, and it goes away so quickly though.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, like you get it, but then it's gone. Yeah, I like it. I'm going to give it a thumb up.
That's I was going to give it a 1 thumb as well. I think that's, you know, I drink it again. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not going to like knock anyone's socks off, I think, in like regards to like pungency or like miraculous flavor, right? It's not going to knock someone's socks off because it's so nasty that you have to be a real sour fan to enjoy. And it's also not going to be like the best sour you've ever had, but it's definitely a really good, well-balanced one. And I think it tastes good coming out of this glass.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Pour it in the glass.
Definitely one you want to pour in a glass rather than drinking out of plastic cups like dingleberries.
Yeah, yeah, like we've been known to do here on the old Brews and Reviews show.
Well, let's dive on into one of the most just out of left field sleeper hits of the year. Puss in Boots, man. Puss in Boots released. When was it released? 2022 must have been in like Christmas or something.
Yeah.
But Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, the sequel to the first Puss in Boots movie, whom I don't know anyone that's seen it. No one talks about that movie. Directed by Joel Crawford and Waniel Mercado. It's like Manuel, but with a J. So Waniel Mercado. I hope I said that right, Juanwell. But those two guys, you might have heard their names if you're really into film or something like that in passing, because they both have worked on a lot of storyboarding for animated films. Trolls 2, The Croods, stuff like that. It's all kind of underneath their belts. They've worked together on a lot of projects. But this is their first time really at the reins directing a full film. Stars Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots, Salma Hayek as Soft Kitty Paws, or Kitty Soft Paws. Yeah, Kitty Soft Paws. Harvey Guillen? I think it's Guillen because it's 2 L's. As the dog. What was the dog's name? Perrito. Yeah.
Also known as Small Dog.
Florence Pugh as Goldilocks. And then John Mulaney as Jack Horner, who honestly just crushed it. As I would say, the runner-up antagonist. Maybe the main antagonist, the sleeper antagonist.
Yeah, well, he was the bad guy because he has a choice in who he is.
Yeah.
But like death is what it is.
Lobo.
Wolf.
Wagner Moura, who was Lobo, also death. Spoiler alert. In the movie. Not a big spoiler, but all of them great actors and actresses. If you want to know kind of what some of their stuff is, because you might not be familiar with their other work, Antonio Banderas, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, one of the greatest cheesy, just most ham-fisted action films of all time. Like, you watch it and you're like, oh, like first 5 minutes, you're like, so this is in no way supposed to be taken seriously. But a really awesome action movie if you're just in it for the insanity of the things they do. Spy Kids, Desperado, Zorro: The Last Mask. Harvey Guillen is pretty famous for being one of the main characters in the vampire TV show, vampire comedy What We Do in the Shadows, which my wife and I have been going through, and it's hilarious, dude. It's so funny. He's Guillermo in that show. Salma Hayek is also famous for doing just about every other movie that Antonio Banderas has done as the female cast with him, or Penelope Cruz. It's always one of those two, and those two look so much alike that it's hard to tell which one's actually in the movies. But Salma Hayek was in Banditas, Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and she was the vampire lady with a giant anaconda or python. I can't remember what kind of snake it was, sliding around her arms and stuff, and From Dusk Till Dawn. And then John Mulaney, the comedian, he was also in Into the Spider-Verse as Spider-Ham. Yeah, he was the pig. Did you see Into the Spider-Verse?
I never watched it.
Oh wow, it's so
Maybe
good, dude. It's so good. If you like this movie, you will love Into the Spider-Verse. And then Wagner Moura, of course, as the wolf, Lobo, Death. He is most famous, I would say, for his role as Pablo Escobar in Narcos. So, pretty good lineup cast of people who are pretty successful. And essentially, the plot, at its most basic roots, is Puss in Boots. He's a cat. He's a cat, man. And what do cats have, other than cat-like reflexes?
They got 9 lives.
They got 9 lives, man. They got 9 lives. And that explains just how lucky and successful cats are at acrobatics and recovering from big old wolves. And I meant that as wolves, as in like, uh-ohs, but that sounded like wolves.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, Puss in Boots, he is kind of doing his thing, showboating and all that, singing a song, trying to make everybody love him, going for the ego and the pride of it all, when he stops this big old giant that he's awoken with his party in this town of Del Mar.
Mm-hmm.
And in fighting the giant, he loses his 8th life, and he's down to his last life. A big old bell falls on him and kills him. He wakes up in the doctor's, and the doctor tells him, well, now you're on your last life.
Mm-hmm.
And Puss in Boots hears about this magical star that landed somewhere in the woods, and he's going to go on a quest to cast a wish on this fallen star so that way he gets all of his lives back. And in pursuit of him going after this is a big old wolf that is honestly one of the best villains I've seen in a lot of like animation and all. I can't really think of a like animated villain that was as good as Lobo was. Like,
right. As like he was scary, dude. He scared me.
He was scary without actually, I would say, like it being overkill or try hard.
He was truly ominous.
Yeah.
Just this ominous presence.
I kind of was afraid that the whistling, the whistling kind of for me was like, oh, like this could be cheesy, but they played with it really well. That like it didn't come off as like ham-fisted. Like, of course, the bad guy whistles every time he's walking around.
Towards the end, when he whistled, I got goosebumps once.
Oh yeah,
I was oh, he's coming.
Well, it's weird. You forget about him.
Yeah,
and like you hear the whistle, and like the way Puss in Boots' face just goes blank, and his eyes go like pinprick. You're just like, oh god, like I forgot about him too. But yeah. So tell me, man, overall, what'd you think? Let's get our first impressions. I mean, we're talking favorably of it so far. So if you can't tell, we both have a favorable perspective on the film. We'll kind of do, of course, our typical thumbs up, thumbs down review at the end. But yeah, what were your thoughts, Pat?
Yeah. So for starters, I love Zorro.
Really?
As a kid, I think I went as Zorro for Halloween like maybe 5 or 6 times. For real? Yeah.
Did you actually watch the movies?
I watched not only the Antonio Banderas movies, the old Zorro as well.
Was Anthony Hopkins?
Anthony Hopkins is in the old one, but he's not in his own Zorro movies. He is the old Zorro who then passes on the helm to Antonio Banderas. Okay. But there's an old like black and white one. So even then I liked Zorro. And then when like the Mask of Zorro came out, I watched that. And then the Legend of Zorro, I watched that. So when I've always loved that character a lot. And it always has been one that no matter how bad a movie it comes out, like even if you know it's going to be a stinker, if it's a Zorro movie, I will go watch it. Like someday if they do it again, I'm going to go watch it. But so that being said, the Puss in Boots character is basically straight ripped off of Zorro. Like,
well, it's Antonio Banderas,
right? But like, yeah, the Zorro is the Robin Hood type. He's loved by the common people, hated by the law. Even like Zorro, like when Puss in Boots marks his P in the wall, that's the same thing. Is totally supposed to be Zorro marking a Z in a wall. So this bandit running around, and so I also growing up loved Shrek, and so the Shrek movies I thought were great. Especially, I think the first one was like revolutionary in its own way. Like not revolutionary is maybe a strong word, but like it was something we hadn't really seen much before.
Well, I think it was that first one that like our age group, our generation saw that was like, oh, this is like not Disney, not Hercules. This is
And it's not for like babies.
It's making grown up jokes. My mom and my family are laughing, and
right.
He makes the joke. Is like, I'll never forget. When Princess Fiona's like, we got to get out of here, and he's like, I can't leave yet, and she's like, why not? She's like, I have to find my ass, and I was just like, dude, haha, wow, they swore in this kids movie, dude. Lord Fuckwad, like. When you reach the age where you realize that's fuckwad, and I just remember Lord Fuckwad, and I never understood why parents and teachers would laugh when you're pretending to be Lord Fuckwad and you call someone else Lord Fuckwad, and then dude, you in middle school. I feel like some people didn't realize it till high school.
I didn't realize it till just now.
Oh, for real?
Dude, I just how did I never catch that one, dude?
Isn't that great, dude? Isn't that insanely good writing?
Oh, it's wonderful. Oh my god,
dude. I'll be honest though, I am a Shrek 2 purist in that I think Shrek 2 is the best Shrek movie.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's Shrek in its most purest form of it spends way more time, I feel like, in paradising. What's the proper
parodying? Sure,
parodying.
Yeah.
Fairy tales. The first one does a decent job, letting you get a little bit of time, but the first one is very original. You know what I mean?
It's an original version. Yeah.
It doesn't really. It goes out of its way to make sure this isn't Shrek going to rescue Sleeping Beauty. It's an original princess, an original bad guy, an original sidekick. The talking ass doesn't exist in any other fairy tale I'm aware of.
Right.
It exists in the Bible.
Right.
But that's it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's pretty funny, but the second movie was just roasting, not roasting, I guess, but just really embracing the parodizing of all the classic fairy tales, and really just the way they just handle Prince Charming and all that one. But anyways, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, it did feel good. I went and saw it on a whim with a buddy of mine on a Saturday afternoon
in the theater.
Yeah. And it felt like a great movie for the two of us. It didn't feel too childish. We were both laughing our butts off and giving each other looks while we were watching it of when freaking Lobo puts the coins in his eye.
Oh yeah.
And he just holds them up with it 2 fingers. I'm like, that's fucking scary, dude.
Yeah.
I remember looking at my buddy and I was like, dude, that was scary.
Yeah.
That was scary. It was so well done. What do you think? What do you think about outside of just Lobo as the bad guy?
Yeah, I think that it was as far as sequels go and these run-on series go, it had some originality to it in its own story, and every story's been told at some point, but I think that I really liked this story and the moral end point of this story, of kind of being content, being okay with yourself, and being this is the cliche, it's being who you are, and not necessarily that so much, but accepting who you are. That's different, I think, than I
think it might be accepting your circumstances.
Right. Yeah, that's a better way to put it, for sure.
And it's kind of weird because it's not a story that actually you can relate to as a human being.
Right.
Because we don't die so many times. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird because there's no human being on earth who has lived 8 full lives.
Right.
So distinctly different, like Puss in Boots does. You see his 8 lives at one point in the movie, and you realize he was a very different person in each one, with different things, and lived a pretty full life in each one. And at the end of it's accepting that this is your only life and being content with it. And I was just that's really good writing, because I can't relate to that.
It's you can't, but you can relate to only having one life.
Only having one life and making the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was so weird at the end to be how'd they make a lesson out of something no human beings ever experienced? You know what I mean? So, let's kind of just hit on the art style. Just like is it you know how there's some animated movies that you're like the jokes are funny, but good God, I just could not get out over how horrendous the animation was, or the art style was, and like I think about like some of the not maybe it was one of the other DreamWorks movies. What was the one with like Little Red Riding Hood?
Oh yeah,
and then there was the other one, Over the Hedge.
Yeah,
I remember that. Like both of those were so bad.
Like there wasn't a lot of effort put into the.
I mean, the animation. And the face, like the eyes. It just looked like pre-Toy Story.
And it was probably almost the same stuff they used in Shrek, but it didn't. It should have progressed.
Yeah.
But it never did. Shrek came out pretty early on.
Like 2001 or 2000, yeah.
So it's pretty early as far as those things go. And so as a viewer, your eye develops and you start to like notice all that stuff. So what they, in this one, they actually like tuned it back a little bit. Like, they didn't go hyper real. They took it back towards animated, more cartoony. And then especially like the fight scenes, they had them all like anime style.
It was not anime, but like actual animation style. Like rather than being like 3D 60 frames per second, most of the movie I think is, I would argue,
was like computer animated.
It's computer animated at like 24 frames a second. But the fight scenes are what's called animating on twos, and I think the fight scenes are 12 frames a second. So that's why like it feels like choppier and like more actiony, is because what you're watching is like kind of what actual cartoons are animated at.
The ones where your mind fills in what's going on a little more.
And that's how actually that was a really cool thing they did in the Into the Spider-Verse movie, was like as Miles is like becoming Spider-Man in the beginning of the movie, he's animated only on twos. And the actual like Spider-Man that's training him is really smooth and animated on threes. And as Miles gets better control of his powers and gets better at being Spider-Man, his animation gets smoother. And it was pretty cool because like as you're watching the beginning, he's just like struggling and stumbling and slamming into everything. And it's almost at like 8 frames a second. It's like weird because of how like kind of blitzy, chunky it is. Because it's right next to someone who's moving at like 24 frames a second.
Oh yeah. And
then as he gets better in his skills, becomes a better superhero, he moves more fluidly, and then he's at the 24 frames per second at the end of the film. Which I thought was pretty cool. But in this one they use the fight scenes kind of as like the more choppiness, which is actually a pretty standard move in like normal movies.
I felt a little Kill Billy.
Yeah.
In a good way. It was like when it's like a fight scene happens, something changes. It doesn't necessarily pull you out of the movie, of the story, but lets you know what's happening.
Well, a lot of movies will be at like 30 frames or 60 frames, like action movies will be. And as soon as they go into like a fight scene or something, they'll actually drop the frame rate down to like 24 frames per second. And like that frame rate drop is what gets you like the very almost like you don't realize it, but it feels fast and punchy. And that's like the Jason Bourne effect. Those like fight scenes that are so punchy and quick and like they like, his fist is here and it's just elbow out. And all that is because it's actually at like a lower frame rate rather than like the higher, smoother frame rate. So it also works to like hide punches better and stuff.
Right.
But I thought the art style was really cool because it was 3D, but it also felt 2D. Like the shading on it was, and like the line art on it felt like very crisp a lot of the time. And it wasn't going for necessarily like the super expensive, 200 million furs, like hairs on Puss in Boots' head.
Right. Yeah. I liked it. I thought that also it was unique in that way. And then the overall like adventure was pretty good. It was like fine, but it was just standard, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was so unique. I felt like I hadn't ever seen an adventure like that.
Yeah, I guess there were parts of it I did like. So like the sidekick dog. One of my favorite parts about it was when they look at this magic map and then the path you take to get to the end, like
is reflective of yourself.
Reflective of you, yeah, and who you are. And so you know, everybody else looks at it and had this like horrible path of all these hard things to go through, and then this like the pure like little sidekick, like it's like a walk in the park.
Yeah,
and it's actually like a joy to go through the journey. So like there were definitely like that certain things in there that I thought they had unique aspects in there that way.
I just thought that spin I'd never seen before, and like the journey, you know, like each. I guess there's stuff like you know, I've seen the thing where it's like everyone's fighting a version of their nightmares, but like to have it where it was like the map that changed the environment, and it wasn't necessarily your nightmares, but just like your deepest intrinsic struggles. You know, because what was Kitty Paws? Kitty Paws was like loneliness, right?
Yeah.
And sorrow. It was essentially just about like being alone or being abandoned or self-isolation. It was like mountains of self-isolation or something like that, you know? And then what was like Puss in Boots was different. It was
all around death.
Death, was it?
Yeah. It was like, you know, Cave of Souls or like Mountain of Doom and like these sorts of things, whatever.
And what was some of the other ones? Because there's the Three Bears or Goldilocks, and then there was Jax, and Jax was like Fields of Slaughter, or I can't remember
which person.
Jack Horton.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to remember what his was.
I don't remember.
His were like, it was kind of like the most sociopathic.
Oh no, just like really really jacked up ones.
Yeah, it was like ones that are like, you don't care about anything, so it doesn't matter how hard this stuff is because it's not really you don't care about a commentary on how psychotic you are,
right?
You know what I mean? And then Goldilocks's was like not impersonation, but like belonging.
Yeah, desire to like have a belonging in a family and stuff. And the Jack Horner character was
Jack Horner, man,
just despicable. And I loved
like irredeemable and just totally laying into it.
The fake, the off-brand Jiminy Cricket.
I think that was Jiminy Cricket.
It was Jiminy Cricket, but
I'm your conscience.
Yeah, but they list him as what do they list him as? They list him as like
emotional cricket,
like helping bug or something, something like that. Ethical bug. So yeah, I mean, but it's Jiminy Cricket. You know,
it makes you wonder if like Disney would sue on that. Like, does Disney own the fairy tale of Pinocchio?
I don't know.
Netflix made a Pinocchio movie with Jiminy Cricket,
right? But
you're actually right. Ewan McGregor gave a different name for the cricket. He's like,
like Jiminy Cricket might not have been in the original Pinocchio story. Yeah, that might be a Disney character they added in. You know, so that's why they have ethical bug. I thought that was hilarious. But when he comes up in there and just like the ethical bug, and they're just trying to, he's just you see him and you're like, oh, he's screwed off the bat. Yeah, it's not going to work for him.
Well, you just you feel bad for that bug because you know the bug's like, I gotta find one shred of good in you.
Oh yeah,
and then like by the end of the movie, he's like, there's nothing good about you.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
That was good stuff, and like it was very much like I felt like on brand for like a kids movie ish. Until they get to like going through the actual map. And then when it turns into Starship Troopers and Jack Horton's Baker's Dozen are just being fed to the plants,
dude,
and just like gunning it down and like straight up turned into aliens, man.
Dude, I was like, as I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this really isn't for like small children.
Nah,
it's like it really needs to be like middle schoolers and up. You know, like somewhere in there, like versus like just some of those things. I just kept forgetting it wasn't a child's movie.
Well, but that's on brand with like the Shrek movies.
Exactly.
You know?
I've just forgotten. Yeah. I'd just forgotten over time.
Yeah.
And I probably watched Shrek, if like you said, like I watched it at such a young age. Lots of that stuff just went right over my head.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. For a long time.
Yeah.
Until you're 30.
Yeah, exactly. Till today when you revisit it.
Yeah, dude. Okay. I did like, the funny thing was too, like that it was kind of meta with Jack Horton, because as soon as he said he was Jack Horton and he had a purple thumb, I was like, oh my gosh, like my childhood's being triggered. You know, like there's something in those foggy depths where there was some kind of rhyme. I know some kind of childhood rhyme about this guy with a purple thumb and putting it in pie. Maybe it got in his eye. I can't, like, I was trying so hard, and I remember it. I was sitting there with my buddy in the movie theater, and we were both like, dude, what is that? And then Jack Horton, you know, goes by his little rhyme and how everyone passes over him as a fairy tale kid for the story of Pinocchio. And it was super meta because everyone in that movie theater was like, Jack who? Jack Horton? What? Who's that? Wow, I kind of vaguely remember it. And the movie legitimately like gives you just long enough to sit with that before he's like, and this is why I'm a bad guy. Yeah, because none of you remember my childhood rhyme thing. It was so meta that I felt like I felt almost embarrassed. Like I felt like it was your fault. Yeah, it was your fault. He's bad. And with the line was something like this, where he goes like, he's like, because the people who deliver him the map, they're like, oh yeah, what's that stupid rhyme? Like that stupid fairy tale you're in? He's like, it was a rhyme, not even a fairy tale. It was a nursery rhyme, not even a fairy tale. So he's like so demoted. He didn't even make it into fairy tale. He just was a nursery rhyme. Yeah. It was that was great. Oh, it was so good. Well, John Mulaney crushed it, dude. Oh, I don't know if it's a curse having the voice that he does, because you know he has such an arrogant voice. Yeah, and it's like, do you think he sounds like that in real life? Well, have you seen his stand-up comedy? Well, yeah, but I just wonder if he's like done it for so long, always talking, or if he's just like do you think that like, I always think about people like, oh, like AM Fox News morning hosts, like do they talk like that all the time, like that intense crazy voice even at dinner? Can J.K. Simmons never sound like an asshole? Right. Yeah, exactly. So I love J.K. Simmons too, by the way. Yeah, but he always sounds those like intense voices. Exactly. So for him, I always wonder if it's like, is that how he is all the time? And because he's kind of small for his voice. Yeah, it's just always funny. He's got like such, it's not even a sportscaster voice. It's like it's like it is like almost like a, I don't know, like it you know what it is? It kind of makes me think of like a carnival, or like a carnival bare knuckle boxer announcer. Yeah, or something. or like a rodeo like not announcer, like rodeo narrator. It's like small town big voice. I don't know how else to describe it, but I just hear it, I'm just like, dude, this is perfect casting. Like he was phenomenal in it, and like he really brought a lot of character with his voice acting. And I thought the character art was really well done. Like Lobo, like everything that they chose for Lobo, of like not just wolf, but like the red eyes and the sickles. Like the sickles, being his tool. Like it wasn't on the nose because they didn't give him a scythe. You know, they didn't give him a big scythe that we're used to seeing for death. But they give him those sickles, and it's kind of still like harvesting. Well, yeah, and like sickles are like, again, like a harvesting tool. But you're just seeing them, and you're like, man, that is there's something about that is so unsettling. That like, that's like a real weapon. You know what I mean? Like the rest of the you know, world, like we don't really see someone using a real sword on Puss in Boots, you know, like they're like all kind of rusty swords or like short swords. None of them look really that dangerous. Puss in Boots himself using his rapier is like, it's a toothpick, right? It's not, it doesn't look like it's actually going to kill anyone. But then Lobo comes out, and dude, when he pulls out those sickles, you're like, he's gonna kill someone, dude. Like those are real weapons in this animated movie. I thought the Three Bears art design was really good. I was pleasantly surprised when they could talk. At first, I was like, "Oh, what? They can talk?" But then I was like, "I like it. You know, I like the interaction, and I like that they made them kind of like, you know, rough, kind of flea bottom Brits. Yeah, you know, like they're like the most like pubish Brits of London that you'd ever like they didn't let them be like in any way refined. You know, they want them to be like these criminal professional thieves. And I thought that was pretty cool character design. Yeah, it's a professional crime family. Yeah. Yep. The wolf, to me, he was so
I said this before. He was just he was one of the scarier villains I've seen in an animated movie because he was like his intentions were kind of unknown. And at least I was wondering if you're watching this as a young kid, if you just be like, oh, Puss is in trouble because he might get killed by this guy, or if that's how you'd view it, but as an adult, you view it and you're like, is death allowed to just take him? Like, is it possible to just kill him in this moment? There's a struggle going on in my own mind of like, what were the rules for how death could engage this thing right now?
I think as a kid, you might be like, it might be one of those movies where like as a child, you're seeing it and it feels like the first kind of breach of like trust. Like as a kid, you trust movies. Mm-hmm. Like you trust hero's gonna win or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as a kid you're watching this one and it might be the first time where you think like the hero's really in trouble. Like this isn't, Hercules beating things up in the Disney Hercules movie and like got himself getting beat up. This is like you're watching this and you're like, my hero's afraid. Like, Puss in Boots is scared. What's going on? And as an adult though, I was watching it and I was like, I think they're gonna break the rules. Like they could kill Puss in Boots.
Yeah, they could take him out.
And to me, I never felt like Lobo was unable to catch him.
Right.
Like it always felt like Lobo's just was like letting him get away.
Yeah.
Like just letting him go.
Yep.
And I love that feeling. Like it always felt like Puss was running away, but he was never getting away because he was smarter or trickier.
Yeah.
Or braver. It was because Lobo was like enjoying the game,
allowing it for one more day.
Yeah, it just was so tasteful. Mm-hmm. None of it was overdone.
Yeah.
I kept on telling people too, everyone who I was recommending go watch this movie. I kept on telling them, I was like, it's honestly one of the best villains I've seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. Like I can't think of a villain that was as good. It kind of felt like a little bit like not really like that Thanos and Lobo are the same, but it like the powerless feeling. Was very similar to kind of how I felt when like Thanos finally showed up, kills Loki, like kills Heimdall, and then like for the rest of the movie he's just killing people, right? You know what I mean? And you're just like, can the Avengers win?
Right?
No, they can't. You know what I mean? And like that's kind of how I felt with Puss in Boots too. It was like that feeling of like he can't win, dude.
And with this character also, villains who like have a code are also scarier.
Yeah.
Like, cause I feel like there's so many, even in movies for adults, all this stuff now, it's just like, it's kind of like ambiguous. Who's good, who's bad. Nothing's good. Nothing's bad. Mm-hmm. There's just debauchery. There's just sex and death going on around. It's kind of like in general, we just write movies and stories about like sex and death and we intertwine them in weird ways now. Like, just like general, I don't know, HBO series of whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like it's but versus like, so those bad guys are just kind of like, there was huge like shock value in like Game of Thrones when someone just like, that guy died. Yeah. Oh, that guy died. Cause it was like, oh my gosh, we're not ready for that. But now if someone just gets killed off, you're like, it happens, versus like having a villain or a bad guy who has to play by these rules. It's something about it makes them more powerful and therefore makes them more scary. They're not just an unhinged like thing that's just half cocked. They're like calculated and able, and then that makes it scarier.
Yeah, I think there's like an extra level of like fear when it comes to a villain that like it's not like there's rules placed on the villain. It's like the villain has rules,
right? And
like you as the audience get to learn these rules. And it adds more fear, I think, to it because, like, I think that's like an issue that, like, even shows like Stranger Things have, where like they don't follow the rules very well. Like they always kind of start off almost establishing rules for like the antagonists, but they never really go like follow through with it well for the sake of like having the ability to kind of not be trapped in those rules they place. Like the Demogorgon was like a really good one where like they never really established rules of like how does it go back and forth?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can it take us with it back and forth? Why is it even coming over? Is it eating people? Or are you not really eating? Does it just, like, when it eats you, puts you in the upside down? Oh, no, it's really eating that dude.
Right.
And it was just like, it was, I mean, even the latest season with Vecna, they never really set solid rules on Vecna. Like, they kind of do, but, like, by the end of the series, like, he's kind of broken those rules, and it's not like he broke them because he gained a new power. It's just like he was just always able to kind of get around. And like that, I feel like happens a lot nowadays. And like as it takes kind of the stakes out of like the film, because you're just like, well, he can do whatever. And like for the sake of the plot, they're just going to let him do whatever, you know, because of plot point needed to progress. Whereas this one just felt like, no, there's rules here. Like the villain has to follow these rules, and they're his own rules. And that's why he's scarier.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jack and him were both like really good, two different sides. Like Jack, pure psychotic selfishness, does not care about anything, not redeemable in any way. And then Lobo, like terrifying, not evil though.
And well, and because
you realize like not evil,
or like is
he evil?
Can be evil, but like not like Jack Horner, but like Jack Horner has, I think it's this early, but Jack Horner has like a choice in a way.
He always has a choice.
He has a choice, but death just is what it is.
Well, that's why I say it's not.
So
like
it's not
evil.
necessarily evil, and so yeah, not necessarily like inherently evil.
Yeah,
and you know, but the but at the same time, I think there is like a maybe because of our association with it, or actually there is like a unnatural thing about death to us too.
Yeah.
So there is like there's something there, but the fact that there was, death is just operating inside of what it is.
Yeah.
And so that was, that's what made him scary. And what did you think about the reveal that Kitty Softpaws also stood him up at the altar?
I thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't feel like it was supposed to be anything other than just like funny. Right.
Like both these people are incredibly selfish, and like both of them were afraid of giving up the freedom they have as an individual.
Yep. But just the fact that he had to carry guilt over it this whole time. She had no guilt about it. And then like they did this whole buildup of guilt throughout like the whole thing, and it arched till finally it was just like, oh no, I thought that was great. I think this is one of those movies that basically anybody can watch it.
Yeah.
And there's like, you might consider like not taking like kids under 7 to it, you know, for certain, like on a scariness factor, or like maybe some like dirty joke factors. But it's one of those movies too, where like really whoever's watching it, like will understand what's going on at their whatever age they are. It's age appropriate to them.
Yeah. And I haven't heard a single person say they didn't love it. Like I've hyped it up a lot.
Yeah.
And I've hyped it up to quite a few friends, and all of them that have seen it. I've only ever watched it once, but a lot of people that I've recommended to have watched it multiple times already.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like with other family members, thought it was just like that good of a movie. I do think, I think it's a little, I don't know. It's a little, what is the expression? Hand in foot in mouth, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a little, been there and done before at the end. Like the final conclusion of giving up the wish. No one gets to use the wish. Everyone realizes they're content with what they have and don't want to make a wish. And I understand it. But because of all the other things they did in the film that really delivered beyond my expectations and were twists, you know, like a good twist, I just really thought that they would have someone use the wish for something really good.
Right.
And I mean, you could correct me right now that, oh no, someone did use the wish. Don't you remember? Yada, and I'd be like, dude, I really don't. I really
No.
don't remember anyone
And-
using the wish because it was such a stereotypical classic. Like, I'm happy now because the real wish granted is the wish for friends and family along the way.
Right.
You know,
Like, even if they could have maybe somehow, if they'd set somebody at the very beginning or like 2/3 of the way through who came through in need,
yeah,
and then they were back out of the story again, and then like had the Chihuahua or whatever, or Perito, just like make it for like that or whatever, you know, just, I don't know, like, and because I did think about that in one sense, because it'd be like, well, wouldn't like the best thing to be if they just like fix the whole world? Like, I wish that the whole world was just fixed, you know, and then it's like, but like, how do you end that too? So it's like, if they'd put some condition on that needed to be, that was also, it was a selfless act, even to just like, you know, still use it for something.
I think it'd be like, I just would have imagined everyone's reaction, probably not kids as much, but every adult's reaction to like, as this is going on, and we just hear Eddie Murphy. Like, I wish, and like just like he just lays it out like,
oh yeah,
and it's like the dumbest.
It's the dumbest
like,
thing.
Yeah,
that too. You could go with a good comedy one on that too, with Donkey or something like that.
And like
Bring it
you're
in.
just like, what, Donkey's here? And like it cuts it. It's just like literally Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, like here making the wish, and just disappearing real quick after making the wish. Whatever. I just think like that would have been pretty funny, and it wouldn't have felt cheap.
Right.
Like there's a way to use the wish and make it be funny, a funny payoff, and not cheap. And I felt like the fact that they didn't use it felt like a waste. I do think though, like the secret, like real emotional plot line was definitely the Goldilocks and Three Bears.
Oh yeah.
Like that one was the one that I cared the most about.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
of like them in their wish and their pursuit. You know, wanting them to have a resolution. And like, dude, I really thought they were going to kill off Baby Bear when he's going up, you know, on the rim of the star and about to like just vaporize.
Yeah.
I really thought they were going to kill him off, and then we were going to be like, oh, now someone does
Just
really
let
need the
her
star.
be evil. Yeah.
She really needs the star to
Bring
him
it
back. Yeah.
Her mistake. Yeah.
And I thought they were going to do that to raise the stakes, raise the odds.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about like the whole ending as a whole? Because it was pretty standard.
Yeah. It had like 2 or 3 endings, you know, as it like ramps down.
Yeah.
And same, because I think it's hard to end it in an original way.
Yeah.
Without just like the end getting written in cursive over the
Happily
top,
ever
you know,
after.
just there it is, you know. Now I did like so they did the first ending was kind of just unoriginal, standard, and they could have written they were all done, they were sitting there as like a new family, and it could have just written out in cursive the end across it, you know, great.
Yeah.
But they I think because of that is why they built in the second ending,
Which was Goldilocks and Three Bears take over the pie factory.
Did it show that in the movie?
Yeah, at the end.
Huh.
Or maybe they said they were going to take over.
Yeah, they say they're going to take it over, but then what they show is the prissy captain from the beginning who Puss in Boots was throwing the house party in his house.
Oh yeah,
They steal his ship.
that's right.
So the 3 of them steal his ship, and then they're sailing off onto a new adventure, and they're heading towards, and they're like, we're going to see some old friends.
Afterland.
And they're going to far, far away.
Oh, far, far away. Yeah, yeah.
And so they're going to see, like, you know, so it's one, it sets it up for like
The final Shrek conclusion.
Yeah, you could like, it's just like 1, it's someone going to see their friends, or 2, it's like technically is open ended, and then 3, it did just end on kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean note, just like we're headed back out to do our thing, you know, and so.
Can you imagine if like they gave us like the final Shrek movie, like just like a good one more conclusion, like just a movie with the OGs all back together again,
Just old.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome,
they're like
man.
grandpas, like, because it's funny it's a 23-year-old movie. I like it.
I don't think it's 23. Oh, it is. No, yeah,
it is.
it is.
It's about 23 years old now, so or somewhere in there. But so,
Wow, that's crazy, dude.
I know, isn't that wild?
That's insane.
Yeah, and so
I think of Jurassic Park as being a 20-year-old movie.
Right.
But that's over 30 years old, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's whack.
And I was thinking about this. I think that is there a character who's had more success than maybe Puss in Boots as a, like, meaning for this character, he wasn't in the first one. He was a character in the sequel. And then he was in the next two after that and had two of his own movies. One of them being not that great, but then this one being really good. Like,
yeah,
just to have it's pretty impressive to have a side character who comes out in a sequel.
Yeah,
have his whole own spinoff.
And it's like such an original story in it too.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I can't really think of one. I'm trying to think of all the movies and spinoffs that I know of. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is like the second Jurassic Park movie. Second Jurassic Park movie follows Dr. Malcolm instead of the original main guy, Sam Neill's. I can't remember what Sam Neill's character, Alan Grant. And I thought that movie was really great. I thought the second movie was
pretty good.
It was so great. Maybe no, the Buzz Lightyear stuff never really took. I was trying to think of like Toy Story and the Toy Story movies.
And there's probably something out there, but
I mean, I think you're right though. I can't think of anything that comes to mind where it's such a successful sequel side character spinoff. You know,
and it all started when he does the cute eyes in Shrek.
Yeah,
that got everybody.
Oh yeah,
they may have been playing it out too long now.
Yeah, I think that
might be the only thing that they played out too long. The Perito bit I thought was funny because he was about to shit himself.
I was like, well, that checks out because he's a Chihuahua. Yeah. Of course he's shaking. But like, yeah, the cute cat eyes bit is like we're all used to it. I mean, kids find it funny still. You know?
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I remember just thinking how awesome was that. Like and funny that they animated Puss in Boots riding a horse in the original Shrek 2.
Oh yeah,
like I was maybe like I don't know. 9 or 10 when I saw that, and I just remember thinking like, "That is so funny. Cats can't ride horses."
Yeah,
but still, like just simple animation like that made the concept like really hilarious. Already, before we hop into goofs and trivia, let's give it that score, man. I'll be honest, I'm gonna give it a 2 thumbs up.
A double.
I can't think of an animated movie that I have enjoyed this much that like felt as perfect for audiences of all ages, and that I've had such resounding positive feedback from friends and recommending it to. I can't think of a single movie where I've recommended it to everybody and everybody has been like, this is a good movie.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think I'm going 2 thumbs as well.
Yeah.
Like I think this one could stand alone from all the previous ones. Like, you know, it doesn't have to have to have the last ones to be. It doesn't stand on any of that. It builds on it, and it gains from having the previous ones. But you could just, if this just came out on its own, people would have been like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
they would have got the whole thing. So yeah, I'm going 2 thumbs as well. Awesome. Because I'm excited to watch it with my wife and my kids.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it with my wife. My wife hasn't watched it yet.
Yeah.
And I've been holding out for a while so that way we could watch it together. Yeah, dude, it's definitely like when I think about it too, I'm just like, I think like the style is going to be timeless too. Like, you ever try watching Toy Story now?
Well,
Toy Story's rough to watch. Like, you're like, they're yelling and kind of screeching the whole time, and the animation just not great, dog.
I have watched Toy Story 1 and 2 5 times in the last 4 weeks.
Oh my god!
So
did you watch them? Did you just like zone out while they were on?
Sometimes I nap.
Yeah,
and I wake up to the end.
But be real, like you know, like what I'm talking about. All these animated movies we grew up with that just don't hold up well.
Yeah, that's true. For me, I'd still dig the Toy Story, but I think they may have.
Dude,
I think they may have remastered them.
No, look at fucking Sid's face.
I
Look
know-
at the dog as it runs after him, dude. The dog has like 2-dimensional eyes.
I know.
The eyes are just like
I know.
2-dimensional layers on its face. Like the textures are rough.
Oh yeah, it's hard to look at from that part. And like I said, I do a lot of napping during it while my 3-year-old
But
watches
are
it.
you gonna nap through Puss in Boots?
Maybe, but probably not. I'll be more motivated to tune in.
Yeah. I just think the style will hold up. You know, the kind of 2D, 3D,
Mm-hmm.
you know, almost kind of comic book animated cell shading. I think it's going to be a pretty timeless movie. I think it'll always look good. And I think the theme and comedy will hold through pretty well.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our rating, a good 4 thumbs, and I think that's the first show movie to get 4 thumbs on our podcast. I don't think anything else has gone the 4 thumbs up.
No.
Yeah, pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts. Alrighty, so hopping into goofs, and then we'll do trivia. There's not a lot of goofs in animated movies, I feel like, because of how meticulous often in the process is, and how it's very easy to go back in and make corrections when you've noticed things that are out of place. Like you never just like film and then get back to the studio and are like, oh fuck, we got to go do a reshoot.
Right.
You're just like filming and then someone's doing editing and you're like, oh, this is continuity issue. And then you just email the guy and he opens up the animations and then renders it again with the corrections and then sends it back to editing. That said, there are some goofs in here. When moments from Puss's 8 lives are flashing before his eyes, a memory of Shrek 2 is shown before the memories of the first Puss in Boots movie. While this matches the real life release order, the first Puss in Boots movie is actually a prequel that takes place before the Shrek movies, making the chronological order incorrect in the Puss in Boots flashback scene. At about 36 minutes into the movie, Kitty Softpaws is fighting Puss in Boots. They're fighting over the map, and she uses a claw out of her thumb. But later on, she informs Perrito that she's been declawed, hence the name Softpaws. And likelihood, I think, is either something wasn't communicated to the storyboard artists. You know, here's the thing. We have 2 directors on this film. Both of them a lot of experience in storyboarding in animated movies. I genuinely think one person was like editing and drawing out and working with the animation team. And then the next group was like working on the scene where she reveals she has no nails. And the director of the other scene was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
She has no nails? And like, yeah, her name's Kitty Softpaws. I'm like, yeah, that's not just like a bit. Like she has no claws at all. It's like, yeah, that's the whole point. He's like, oh fuck. It's already been edited. Like we can't take it out. It's too late. It'll cost too much money to go back to the studio and have them fix it. And you're like, well, just leave it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. Like, cause it kind of works out for the like joke of the film. And then Pinocchio, I noticed this one when I was watching it. Very like in particular, this one stood out in my memory. Pinocchio sings he's a real boy when he's dancing, but his nose doesn't grow. And it was before he was, of course, a real boy because he's like a puppet on stage, right? And so I just remember thinking, like, what the hell? But maybe that was supposed to be a puppet of Pinocchio, you know, like someone doing the fairy tale of Pinocchio on stage, and it's not supposed to be the real Pinocchio. But I remember that one was weird. All right, you got some trivia for us, Pat? Yes.
So the this first one I thought I just put it because it was dark. It was dark that when Jack Horner is assembling the baker's dozen, the horses that are pulling the carriage are actually unicorns with their horns cut off.
Yeah,
which
you can see the stump.
Yeah, it's just gnarly.
You realize Big Jack Horner is like uber metal.
Oh, dude, he's gross, man. He's got issues, and it's funny. He's using Mary Poppins' bag.
Yeah,
I mean, also it's funny too because like she's like kind of a fairy tale too, but like, and they're like, I don't know if Mary Poppins is a fairy tale or or if she's a Disney character.
I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she is an original nanny fairy tale folklore.
Because he never says. It's also another one where he never says her name. He just says like it's a nanny's bag, magical bag, or something.
A nanny's magical bag.
Yeah.
There was like notes of that though, like dropping throughout the whole thing of like all the stuff he has that you're like this is alluding that he killed these people and took their shit.
Oh yeah, he had all this
like Jack's beanstalk or whatever, or Jack's beans or whatever. Like it was alluding that he's just collected this stuff from killing all these other characters.
Or like Midas's thumb.
Yeah, Midas's
thumb was his actual thumb.
Yeah,
and so he has just a hand, and he gets it's gnarly. Like if it was like a modern like PG-13 or R-rated movie, like fairy tale movie, it would have just been a straight up hand in a pickle jar that he would have like touched people with to turn them into gold.
Yep.
But if you were paying close attention at the beginning fight with the giant, there's the wolf is shadowed in the alleyway a few times. Just that looming death, just kind of just there,
like about to die.
Yeah, just right there. This is the longest Shrek franchise movie.
Universe film.
So yeah, the Shrek Universe.
Yeah, Shrekiverse.
And like we were just saying, there's all these references to other fairy tales and like throughout the whole thing, which I think is just makes it really enjoyable for anybody who's either well read in their nursery rhymes and fairy tales and growing up as a kid. Yeah, it's lots of nostalgia there that just brings up all these little things as you're watching it, and just little there. You could probably watch it 4 or 5 times and pick out, notice things each time that you do.
Oh yeah.
The other trivia on here, I think, is yours.
Oh, okay, all right, I'll read it.
Share it?
Goldilocks' dress. This is a classic kind of like almost Western use of the cowboy hat that changes colors through the film. But Goldilocks' dress starts off blue, multicolored, eventually changes to brown, symbolize her character arc of being happy to go at home and be in family with the bears, you know, recognizing her identity as a daughter and sister to the bears. The birthday wish rule states that if people seeking the wishing star reveal their wish to others before they make it, this wish will never come true. Don't you know that rule? Isn't that what you tell your kid, Pat?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, make a wish, but don't tell anybody, otherwise it won't come true.
Yep.
Well, this is true in the film too, because as it is seen in the film, no one gets their wish because they told it to someone else before they can make their wish. Puss and Kitty told each other what they'd wish for. Goldilocks told her bear family what she'd wish for right before getting the opportunity. And Jack Horner told his ethical bug what he was going to wish for. And so no one gets to make a wish. So like it is like good continuity, right? Like it follows the rules that are set in place. Like the movie followed its own rules. And then this last thing was a couple more places where we see Wolf being Death before he actually reveals his identity. He wears sickles in the hood, which is very reminiscent, in his snout itself with his big eyes kind of makes the skull with the like the teeth and the jaw look, you know, like the long bony look. Skull motifs around the wolf and his appearances. The wolf puts 2 coins over his eyes during Puss's getaway, which was an ancient Greek funerary practice. The title card for each of Puss's 8 deaths has the wolf on the border. At the bar, when Puss claims he laughs in the face of death, the wolf's claw scratches the bar's surface in a moment of anger before he removes his cowl and shows his face to Puss. And the final trivia thing is that the body count for this film is 23, dude. 23 people. That's a lot.
Dang.
That's more than Jurassic Park, dude.
That's
23 people don't die in the first Jurassic Park, dude. 23 people don't die in the third Jurassic Park.
That's probably including dinosaurs in the first one.
Yeah.
There's
a rule in the Jurassic Park movies. No dinosaur gets to die unless it's another dinosaur that kills him. That's why you never see a dinosaur get shot and killed in those movies.
Really?
Yeah, it's a rule.
Huh.
Don't know what. It's not like an ethical rule.
Yeah,
it was just like a rule that Spielberg was like, "This is what we're going to stick to."
Hey,
yeah,
it worked for him.
Yep. Anyways, that is Puss in Boots and La Roja. So if you're looking for a good time, And if you haven't been enjoying La Roja with us as we were drinking it, definitely pick it up. It's a good, easy sipping sour. And if you're looking for a movie that's going to be happy for everyone will probably be satisfied with it, regardless of age and preference. Check out Puss in Boots, because it is a pretty great film. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Pat, before we sign off?
I think you said it all.
Alrighty. Well, Ken, till next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.